Welcome to day 4 of Look at the Self, a yoga series that's going to help you get a deeper understanding of your physiology, your psychology and your physicality. And today we're going to continue the pathway up through our bodies, and we're coming to the pelvic area and the stomach, and indeed quite a lot of what's going on in the trunk of your body, your torso. So we've looked from the feet upwards, and yesterday we were working on the quadriceps that connect to your femur bone and your hamstrings at the back of your legs. So if we look today where the femur bones lead to, and they lead to the pelvic girdle, which is otherwise known as the pelvic skeleton or the bony pelvis, and it's the part of your body that brings the legs and the torso together. So if we look at this part here, the pelvis, your femur bones connect into this area, and at the base, at the back here, at the bottom of the glutes, you've got the sit bones, which are otherwise known as the pubis and the ischium. And then you've got nice flat bones here that pretty much the hip bone where the femur connects into, and there's the ilium, and your sacrum, this part of your spine, sits within the pelvic girdle, as does your coccyx, the very bottom bone in your spine. And above the ilium here, this bone here, you've got the iliac crest and the sacroiliac, which really forms around the bone that's happening here. Now this, in ancient times, your pelvis, it was known as the basin. And it's known as the basin because a lot of your internal organs, especially your digestive system, your large intestine, your small intestine, your pancreas, gallbladder, liver, the stomach, they all sit within this basin. Now, for many of you that have tended to let go of your abdomen, your abdominals, your stomach, either through a sedentary lifestyle or just from being a foodie, a lover of great food, and perhaps possibly overeating, whilst not keeping the deep internal muscles strong, you may have dropped your basin out of alignment, which can bring all sorts of problems to the spine. And we will be looking at the spine today, but we are going to go into greater detail of the spine tomorrow. But for now, we need to know that in our pelvic area, in our bony pelvis, we've got a lot of protection going on, and we really need to keep in control of our stomach muscles and the strength there, so that the stomach can help the pelvis retain alignment, in turn assisting the spine to not have any overstraining or extra stress put on it. You'll see now, if it turns sideways, for some of us, we might tend to sit like this, where we've got a dip in our spine and we've allowed our stomach muscles to collapse forward. And we might also do this when we're standing up, letting the stomach drop forward. We've let go of the stomach muscles and we've got this real dip in the base of the spine. Now this shows that the pelvis, the basin, has tipped forward. So quite naturally, all those organs inside that protective basin have spilt forward, and that's quite often where you'll see extra flesh and fatty cells hanging over your trousers, your skirt, your clothes. So what you want to look at doing is tilting it back, bringing it back into alignment so that this basin is sitting centrally over the two femur bones. And this will help distribute this body weight from the trunk of your body down through your legs into your knees or the lower legs, into your feet at all times. So it's a good way to check yourself. Have a look in the mirror. Turn sideways. How do you sit? How do you stand? Have you got this massive dip in the spine? Some of us have a natural dip. That's fine. But we can still, with that natural dip, engage the stomach muscles to support the spinal cord. If you let the stomach muscles go, the spine ends up doing much more work than it needs to, and over time it depletes its strength, and this is where you get back pain. So it's very easy to step out of that cycle of putting lots of stress into one area of the body. This is why we're looking at the self, because we want to begin to understand how each part of the body can help another to retain good health and alignment. So it's all about that little tilt, that pulling in of the stomach muscles, supporting the spine, so that you can sit and stand in a much more self-aware way. So there's a lot that goes on in the trunk of your body. The digestive system, all those parts that I've just mentioned, including intestines, gallbladder, etc., connected by the esophagus, which leads down toward the stomach, and this is coming from the windpipe too. So this is where the trunk of the body begins to connect up in the shoulders, neck, head. But you've also got your lungs, your heart, you've got your spleen, you've got your kidneys at the back here, and the adrenals. They are the glands which work your hormones. Again, very important for keeping mind and body in a nice balanced state. Hormones, an imbalance of, can create all sorts of problems within the body and mind. So with the practice of yoga, you really are able to keep great health for all these individual parts and unite them together so they all begin to function as nature intended. The other thing we remember that we have in our pelvic area as well is the testes and the ovaries. And as I've said before, it's really helpful to look at diagrams of what's going on inside of you. Research, and if you get a visual of what's happening internally, it gives you a much better understanding of what you are doing when you practice your yoga. So today we're going to do a few positions for the pelvic area and for the stomach, the core and the torso. Now remember, the core of you, if you become really deeply strong here, that strength will then distribute itself out and around to all peripheries, even to the tips of your fingers and to your toes, to the top of your head, the crown. So it really begins to move outwards. It's all well and good if you like doing your gym exercises where you're working with weights, which brings great tone and shape to the body, but it actually stresses the muscles out to a certain degree, and it shortens them because of always doing this, and the same with the legs, and you're forever shortening the muscles, which builds them up and they feel nice and solid and shaped, but they lose their flexibility. And often if you go to the gym too much, you'll end up being very stiff. So the yoga, in conjunction with going to the gym, will help retain that beautiful toning and strengthening, but it will also have a softness and suppleness about yourself. It will keep the muscles, tendons, ligaments, all in a greater state of flexibility and suppleness. Just another thing to be aware of with your choice of practice. Yoga can fit in at any point for many, many reasons and has numerous benefits. So let's look at doing some exercises for the tummy, the core, to activate and engage our stomach muscles. And we'll also be using the spine, which we will be going into more detail about tomorrow. So, in a kneeling position, and if kneeling is not available to you, then do stretch your legs forward. Have them wide open, have them closed down, whatever feels comfortable. You might like, in a kneeling position, to have a cushion under the knees at the front, just to give a little bit of extra support, or you can place it between the heels and the buttocks, again, a little bit of extra support. Work with yourself and what you feel comfortable with. So simply connecting into the breath first and foremost. So you might like to close the eyes to really draw in and look at the self for these moments before commencing movement. Check that the jawline is relaxed and you have unclenched your teeth, therefore detensing. Soften the skin on your face, around your cheeks and your eyes and your forehead. Always having that true observation and experience of gaining space and increasing in elevation as you breathe in, and then surrendering as you breathe out. And when you surrender, whilst letting go of breath, you're also aware not to collapse. Breathing out doesn't mean that you should slump. You've taken the time to rise up and create space with the breath in. So retain that new status, that new stature you have got, and surrender into that. So there's no collapsing or slumping, but there is a letting go. Again, a moment just to check whether you are shallow breathing, which isn't best for your nervous system and your sense of ease or peaceful mind. If you're shallow breathing, really look to take a bit longer over taking a breath in. And when you breathe out, do it fully, completely. If at first, when you're getting to grips with acknowledging the breath more than maybe you've ever done before, then do return to your regular breath cycle if you feel the need to. Patience with all of this is what is going to be most helpful. And there is no rush at all, because if you want to remain true to yourself, then you'll possibly look at keeping yoga in your life going forward forevermore. So if we bring the hands to our knees now, even if our legs are extended forward, we can still have the hands on the knees. You're going to take a breath in, and as you breathe out, round the shoulders forward and tilt your pelvis and pull your navel right back to the spine. So you are actually making like a C shape with your spine and your body now. And then you'll breathe in, and you're going to push your chest forward and push your tailbone behind you. And then breathe out, and again reverse that so you come into that C position. So you'll be breathing in, forward, pushing the chest forward, pushing the bottom backward behind you. Breathe out. Pull the belly button into the base of the spine, really tilt the pelvis, and if you feel that you want to hold on to front of tummy and base of spine to capture the true essence of this tilt of the pelvic bone that you're doing, then do that. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And as you connect that movement with your cycle of breath, steadily you will be able to increase the movement so that you could maybe drop the head back, chin up, eyes up as you're pushing the chest forward and the buttocks behind you. And then as you exhale, really emptying the lungs, expelling all that carbon dioxide, the biggest tilt of your pelvis you can give, and drop the chin to your chest. And then invert. Keep it going in time with your rhythmic cycle of breath. Now, if you find that being on your knees is too uncomfortable, then you can always exchange that to sit cross-legged. Because everyone's skeleton is so unique, then you as an individual will find which seated position works best for you. And we can also do this movement whilst in tabletop when we're on our hands and knees. Indeed, we will be doing that in a few minutes. But for now, let's bring ourselves to return to a central position. It gives a beautiful flexibility into the spine and the digestive system and the skin on the trunk of your body. Your skin is the single largest organ of your body, and it will respond to all communications from your mind. So if you are looking to tone up the skin, then just tell it to firm up, connect to this muscle, flesh and muscle, connect to the bone, and get the shape that you were always born to be. Let's now make rotations with the torso. So we've still got this beautiful upright elevation and lift. We're going to simply circle the body. So it's better to be in a cross-legged position now. Being aware that as well that as you circle, you're not slumping. If you're slumping, you're actually dropping the rib cage down into the stomach, and that can restrict flow of energy, flow of blood, flow of oxygen. So you do want to look at always retaining this nice lift as you circle. Again, having the observation that your jawline is relaxed, teeth are unclenched. Once you've gone in one direction for several rotations, then swap and go to the other direction. And as you're making this movement, scan the body. Have an honest appraisal about any tension that you may have. Just for a moment, return to a neutral position. Think to yourself, are you tensing in your hips? Are your knees right up here? Are you clenching and being really stiff in the legs? Can you relax and just soften and let them drop outward? If you do find that they're up really high and it's causing you a little bit of discomfort, use pillows, cushions, blankets to prop yourself up, one on each side. Anything to allow the body some comfort, because as soon as the body feels comfortable, it's going to release and let go more so. Have you got your shoulders up by your ears? For many years you've probably had the stress coming at you, and because the stimuli is coming in at the head, this part of the body takes the hit time and time again, and you end up being like this. Can you now rewind that, unravel it, let it go? Close the eyes and start the rotation movement again. Focusing on your breath, possibly slowing down the breath, slowing down the movement. When the mind and body slow down, they have a greater success rate of uniting. Communication has a greater success rate because of the speed you are progressing. It's like the old adage, don't try and run before you walk. Like anything you are learning for the first time, do it slowly. And once you've got it, then you can speed up. So start rotating in the opposite direction now. Still looking at any pockets of tension and how you might be able to let them go. Maybe tune in to your spinal cord now and how it's connected to your skull, and how your spine and your skull are like moving together. The base of your spine being the pivotal point. You're actually on your sit bones, but the coccyx is possibly connected to the floor as well. So that's your pivotal base as you rotate. And then come back to a central position. And be stationary. Breathe. Become aware of how you feel. Open the eyes briefly. Bring the thumb and place it in your belly button. Either thumb, left or right. Possibly go for your weaker thumb. So go for the hand that you wouldn't normally use. I'll do the same there. Place the thumb in the belly button, close the eyes and swallow. Make that connection from your mouth all the way down through the esophagus, through the digestive tract, all the way to the belly button. See if you can feel that connection. Take another swallow, a nice deep swallow. And then release. And let's bring ourselves now onto our hands and knees, tabletop position. And we're going to once again do that flex and flexing of the spine forward and back, like we done when we were seated. Now we're going to be on hands and knees and get a really good foundation. Everything in your yoga practice starts with a really good foundation. So your knees are hip width apart and directly under your hips. Your hands are shoulder width apart and directly under your shoulders. And the energy is rising up from the palms of the hands and from the thumbs, index fingers, the outer edge of the little fingers. And that energy is rising up toward the shoulders rather than allowing your upper body weight to crash down into the wrists. Have your feet resting on the front of the feet, and the feet are the same distance apart as the knees. Then we're going to take a breath in and we're going to drop the tummy, lift the tailbone, lift the chin and the eyes. And then let's exhale, round the shoulders, drop the tailbone, bring the chin towards the chest, scoot the tummy, pull the belly button as high up into that base of spine as you can. And then breathe in, concave the spine, lift the tailbone, lift the chin and the eyes. Keep the shoulders away from the ears, try not to collapse the head and neck down into the shoulders. Exhale, round the spine, scoop the tummy, and then keep this movement flowing in time with your breath. So you've got this alternating of concaving the spine and arching it, and retain a focus on the activity of your belly button as you progress through this movement. Do this once more. Breathing in, concave the spine. Breathe out, arch. And then return to a central position. Take a nice deep breath in and out. Soften the jawline, so just checking that you've unclenched your teeth. If you need a moment off of the wrists, then you can do this by just coming down onto the forearms and having a breath here. Remember, you can tailor-make the yoga to suit your requirements. Now we're going to go again with that same movement, however we're going to change the breath synchronicity. So centrally you're going to take a breath in. As you exhale, you're going to concave the spine, raise the tailbone, lift the chin and the eyes up. Then you're going to breathe in, round the shoulders, arch the spine, drop the tailbone, scoop the belly, and then exhale, concave. Breathe in, arch. Remember as you arch to have that energy coming up from the hands rather than crashing down. And then exchange, breathe out. Breathe in, scoop the belly. Breathe out, concave the spine. Keep it going. See if whilst you're going through the movement you can actually feel your internal organs all being activated. See if you can experience the flesh on your torso moving in time, in unity with your skeleton. You're looking deeply at the self. Experience it, acknowledge it, and then return to a central position. Bring your buttocks to the heels of your feet. You can stretch the hands forward, or you can bring the arms alongside the body and take the fingers in line with the toes. You can keep your knees hip width apart, or if you feel that you want to widen them and really drop down in between the inner thighs, then you can do so. It's entirely up to you how you want to take a breather, take a moment of true surrender. Scan the body and just feel if you've got any pockets of stress or tension. You may have pulled tension into the upper back, into those deltoid muscles of the upper back, at the shoulders. Just let them go, unpick the tension. Breathing out invites surrender. And then let's return to that foundation on hands and knees, just checking your position, that you've returned all parts stacked equally and aligned. We're going to engage the core muscles, the stomach. Think of pulling that belly button up towards the base of the spine, and also think of that belly button being anchored directly to a spot on the mat beneath you. So you might like to again use your thumb into the belly button and then draw a line directly down to the mat, and that's your anchor to keep you nice and level. Let's now remember how our quadriceps work to help us extend our legs. So we're going to take a breath in, and as we exhale, we're going to straighten that right leg. Just have a little forward and back motion through the right foot, remembering our Achilles tendon and our gastrocnemius and our soleus muscles, the calf. And then we're going to breathe in and we're going to raise that right foot so that it becomes aligned with our right hip. Now be aware that you might raise your right hip higher, but you want to keep it well and truly aligned. It's almost like you could put a cup of tea on the base of your spine and you won't spill a drop. Okay, you might find that by engaging your left inner thigh, the adductor muscle, and rotating it outwards a little, and this will help that right hip and buttock stay aligned. You're then going to breathe in, lift the left hand up, stretch it forward. So you really need that feeling of having your belly button anchored to that center spot. You want to rise the energy up from the right hand all the way up to the right shoulder. You're stretching into those left fingertips equally at the same rate as you're stretching into those right toes. Connected with the breath, really engaging the core stomach muscles now. And then gently return. Let's go on the other side. So a nice deep breath in. As you exhale, extend that left leg behind you, and you might want to just have a little rolling forwards and back with that. Waking up those leg muscles, connecting with them. And then when you breathe in, you're going to raise the left leg. Take time to adjust and adapt into the position. Feel it. Feel how your weight is dispersing throughout your body. How by taking away your left knee that you've had to adjust and disperse weight equally through your right thigh, your right knee, your right shin. You're then going to release your right hand and stretch it forward. Think about your head and neck and have them as a natural extension of the spine. So avoid holding your head up or dropping it down too much. See if you can keep it nice and aligned so your right ear will be brushing along the inside of your upper right arm. Stretch into the right fingertips. Direct the stretch down through the trunk of the body and the left leg to the left toes. Rise up through the left arm. And then return centrally. Bring yourself to sit onto the heels of the feet. And again, if you want to add that bit of extra comfort, then put a cushion underneath you. Bring your shoulders back so that the chest has a chance to open out, so that you can get your head and shoulders directly over your hips. You've got that lovely tilt of the pelvic basin so that all your abdominals are protected within the bony pelvis. And breathe. Maybe close the eyes. Become aware of how you feel, your experiences of this session, how much more of an understanding you have of the connection of your legs with the trunk of your body. gently release. You might like to sit cross-legged, or you might like to stay in a kneeling position, whatever feels good for you, as we just allow ourselves that final look at the self for this session. We'll come back tomorrow and look in greater detail at the spinal cord, and we'll do some exercises that will bring the spine to life and help it to grow in strength and vitality. See you tomorrow.